Hello and welcome. It is March 13th, 2026, and just 4 hours ago, something extraordinary happened beneath Yellowstone. The United States Geological Survey, USGS, detected an anomaly that defies every geological model in existence. I'm not talking about a typical earthquake or a hydrothermal explosion. No, this was something far more alarming, a sudden and unprecedented pressure drop. Let me paint a picture for you. Deep beneath Wyoming, inside the primary magma chamber of Yellowstone, the pressure has been building up for decades. It's a ticking time bomb, carefully monitored by geologists, but at exactly 8:14 UTC today, something impossible occurred. The pressure inside the caldera didn't just fluctuate, it plummeted by 14% in less than 3 seconds. Think about that for a moment. Geologically, this is impossible. To vent that much pressure naturally, you'd need an eruption the size of Mount St. Helens. You'd see ash, steam, and destruction. Yet, on the surface of Yellowstone, there was silence. The bison were grazing, the geysers were as normal as ever, but underground, the data tells a very different story. And here's where the physics gets even more disturbing. At the exact moment, 8:14 UTC, NASA's Deep Space Network antenna in Canberra, Australia, received a directed pulse. This wasn't a random cosmic burst. No, it was a coherent, high-frequency signal from an object we've been tracking for months, San Atlas. Two events, one deep inside the Earth's crust, the other 180 million kilometers away in the vacuum of space, perfectly synchronized. As someone who has spent my career in theoretical physics, analyzing string theory, dark matter, and cosmic evolution, I don't see a coincidence here. The statistical probability of these two events happening at the exact same moment by chance is less than 1 in 8.4 billion. That's not coincidence, that's a handshake. The implications of this are profound. It suggests that San Atlas isn't just observing us, it suggests it has the capability to interact with the interior of our planet. When the USGS called their counterparts at NASA this morning, the room went silent. The data implies that San Atlas just tapped into the most dangerous volcano on Earth and manipulated the magma chamber. And that, my friends, is what we need to discuss right now. The pressure isn't just dropping, it's being moved. Let that sink in for a moment. If you thought the arrival of San Atlas was just some astronomical curiosity, you need to take a closer look at the new data I'm about to share. The physics of our planet are changing before our eyes, and it started just 4 hours ago. To understand the magnitude of what happened at 8:14 UTC, you first need to grasp the true scale of the beast we're dealing with. Yellowstone isn't just any volcano, it's a supervolcano. Beneath the calm surface of Wyoming lies a massive magma reservoir, roughly 60 kilometers long and 35 kilometers wide. This reservoir contains over 10,000 cubic kilometers of crystal magma. For the past 640,000 years, this system has followed a predictable pattern. Pressure builds up, the ground swells, and eventually it vents. It's basic thermodynamics, but the data I'm examining right now violates everything we know about thermodynamics. At exactly 8:14 UTC, the borehole strain meters, so sensitive they can detect the gravitational pull of the moon on the crust, recorded a sudden and violent contraction. Normally, when pressure drops in a magma chamber, it means one thing: the magma has escaped. Either it erupted or it leaked into a side fissure. But here's the impossible part. There was no leak. NASA's Landsat 9 satellite passed over Wyoming 12 minutes after the event. The thermal infrared sensors showed zero temperature spike, no steam, no lava. The pressure simply vanished. Pause for a moment and realize the significance of this. If you have a balloon filled with air and the pressure drops, the air has to go somewhere. Matter cannot be created or destroyed. It's a fundamental law of physics. Yet, at Yellowstone, 14% of the potential energy inside the magma chamber simply disappeared into thin air. And it wasn't just one sensor that recorded this. USGS Borehole B 205, located on the rim of the caldera, showed a negative strain of 400 nanostrains. That's massive. The University of Utah seismograph network confirmed the drop instantly. And to be absolutely sure, the European Space Agency's Sentinel-1 satellite used interferometric synthetic aperture radar, SAR, to measure ground deformation. 3 independent sources, using different methodologies, came to the same conclusion. The ground above the magma chamber sank by 4.2 centimeters in just 3 seconds. Think about the energy required to do that. To deflate the crust of the Earth by 4 centimeters instantaneously without an explosion requires the removal of gigatons of force. And that brings us back to San Atlas. While geologists were scrambling to explain the impossible deflation, astrophysicists were looking up at the exact moment the ground sank. At 8:14 UTC, the radio telescope array in Greenbank, West Virginia, detected a ping from San Atlas. This signal wasn't just a random burst, it was a carrier wave, a frequency of exactly 4.8 gigahertzes. This is what makes this moment so fascinating to a physicist. When you calculate the resonant frequency of a magma chamber of that specific volume and density, the math is complex, but the answer is clear. The natural resonant frequency of the Yellowstone Reservoir is 4.8 gigahertzes. This wasn't a coincidence. This was a key fitting into a lock. San Atlas sent a signal that matched the vibrational frequency of the magma perfectly. In physics, we call this resonance coupling. Just as hitting a wine glass with the right note can shatter it, if you hit a magma chamber with the right frequency, you can manipulate the pressure inside. But wait, it gets stranger. This wasn't a one-time event. At 9 UTC, exactly 46 minutes later, it happened again. Another signal from San Atlas, another 4.8 gigahertzes pulse, and another 14% pressure drop at Yellowstone. The pattern repeated at 9:46 UTC and again at 10:32 UTC. What we're witnessing is a cycle, a rhythmic, deliberate extraction of energy. The pressure inside the supervolcano is currently at its lowest point in 10,000 years. When I spoke with colleagues at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory earlier today, the mood wasn't one of excitement. It was confusion, because if San Atlas is draining the energy from our planet's supervolcanoes, where is that energy going? Energy cannot just disappear, it must be transferred. The leading theory until now was that San Atlas was cooling the planet, perhaps as a benevolent act. But new data from the Deep Space Network suggests something far more complex. We've detected something chilling literally, a secondary signal leaving Earth, a faint, almost invisible stream of neutrinos shooting straight up from Wyoming, aimed directly at San Atlas. For those of you who follow particle physics, you know that neutrinos barely interact with matter. They pass through the Earth like a ghost. But high-energy neutrinos, on the other hand, can carry vast amounts of data or even power. And the implications of this are enormous. What we're looking at here seems to be wireless energy transfer on a planetary scale. San Atlas isn't just tapping into Yellowstone, it's siphoning it. It's using the Earth's geothermal heat as a kind of battery. Now, you might be wondering, why would an interstellar object need that much raw thermal energy? Is it refueling, charging something? Or is it preparing for a high-energy event that requires the power of a supervolcano to execute? The numbers don't lie, the pressure is still dropping. And the latest scan from the magneto array suggests that the chamber itself is changing in ways we've never seen before. This is not just energy extraction, it's modification. Whatever is going on beneath Yellowstone is far more than just siphoning off power. It's transforming the very nature of the magma chamber itself. At this point, we have to shift from geology to high-energy astrophysics. And here's where the physics gets mind-boggling. When most people think of tapping into a volcano, they imagine drilling a hole. But San Atlas is 180 million kilometers away. It has no physical drill, no pipes. So, how does it extract gigawatts of thermal energy across the vacuum of space without causing catastrophic damage to our atmosphere? The answer lies in a branch of physics so theoretical, we usually only discuss it on blackboards at places like Princeton or CERN. This involves something called neutrino oscillation coupling. Let me put this in perspective. Neutrinos are ghost particles. Trillions of them pass through your body right now as they come from the sunday. They don't interact with anything. They can fly through a light year of lead without hitting a single atom, but somehow San Atlas has done the impossible. It's made neutrinos heavy. At 10:45 UTC, detectors at the IceCube Neutrino Observatory in the South Pole, thousands of miles away from Yellowstone, lit up like a Christmas tree. They detected a stream of high-energy neutrinos coming up through the Earth, originating directly from the coordinates of the Yellowstone caldera. This should not be possible. The Earth usually blocks high-energy particles, but these neutrinos were different. They carried a specific flavor, a quantum signature that matches the radioactive decay of uranium and thorium inside the Earth's mantle. Think about that for a moment. The magma beneath Yellowstone is rich in radioactive elements. When these elements decay, they release heat and antineutrinos. Normally, that heat stays trapped, building pressure until an eruption occurs. But it seems that San Atlas is inducing forced decay. It's acting like a cosmic tuning fork, broadcasting that 4.8 gigahertz signal we discussed earlier. It's vibrating the atomic nuclei inside the magma, accelerating the natural decay process, and forcing the heat to convert into neutrino bursts. And neutrinos, unlike heat, can escape the Earth instantly. They shoot straight up through the crust, through the atmosphere, and out into space, carrying the energy of the volcano with them. This is engineering on a cosmic scale, and it's a perfect wireless energy siphon. But here's the catch, and this is where the physics gets truly terrifying. If you drain the heat from a supervolcano too quickly, the rock doesn't just cool down, it contracts rapidly. And when rock contracts deep underground, it cracks. At 11:12 UTC, the University of Utah's seismograph stations detected a swarm of 400 micro-earthquakes in the Yellowstone caldera. These weren't normal tectonic shifts. No, these were implosion events. The rock is shattering inward because the pressure is vanishing too quickly. Imagine a glass bottle that you suddenly vacuum seal. It doesn't explode, it implodes. That's exactly what's happening to the magma chamber right now. Then, at 11:30 UTC, something changed. The signal from San Atlas shifted. It stopped pulsing at 4.8 gigahertz and suddenly jumped to 14.2 gigahertz. This was not in the models. This wasn't predicted. It changes everything. 14.2 gigahertz is a very specific frequency. In spectroscopy, it corresponds to the resonant frequency of water molecules under extreme pressure, supercritical water. And why would San Atlas switch from targeting magma to targeting water? Because deep beneath the magma, there's a hydrothermal system, a vast ocean of superheated water. If you destabilize that, you're not just draining energy, you're risking a ferocious explosion. When I saw the frequency shift, I immediately contacted a colleague at the European Space Agency. We looked at the data from the Sentinel-1 satellite, and once again, the ground isn't just sinking anymore. In the northeast quadrant of the park, near the Norris Geyser Basin, the ground has started to rise. This is contradictory. The main caldera is collapsing, but the geyser basin is inflating. The physics here defies standard geology. It suggests that San Atlas is separating the volatile elements from the stable rock. It's refining the magma, pulling out the pure energy, heat, and neutrinos, while leaving behind a volatile, pressurized water system that is now unstable. Let me be clear about what this implies. We are witnessing a process of planetary engineering. San Atlas is treating Yellowstone like a fuel depot. It's extracting the refined energy it needs and discarding the waste heat into the water table. The efficiency is staggering. In just 4 hours, calculations suggest that San Atlas has extracted 4.2 exajoules of energy. That's more energy than the entire human race consumes in a month, and it did it without ever touching the planet. But the real mystery, the one that disturbs the scientific community, is the precision with which San Atlas is targeting a specific magma chamber from 180 million kilometers away. Accounting for the Earth's rotation, the wobble of the axis, and the gravitational interference of the Moon, the margin of error is less than the width of a human hair. That level of control suggests intelligence far beyond ours, or an automated system that has done this to thousands of planets before. If this is an automated refueling stop, what happens when the tank is full? Does the process stop gently, or does the connection snap, releasing a backlash of energy back into the crust? We've never seen a disconnection event of this magnitude. The last time we saw anything remotely similar was the Tunguska event in 1908, which flattened 800 square miles of forest, and that was an impact. This is a connection. The link between San Atlas and Yellowstone is currently a stream of pure, high-frequency energy. If that stream is severed abruptly, the backlash could trigger exactly what we fear most. But before we jump to conclusions, let's focus on what we know for certain. At 11:45 UTC today, everything we've observed took a terrifying turn. The neutrino stream reversed direction. Until then, we had seen San Atlas extracting energy from the Earth, pulling power from the magma, and sending it back into space. But now, something has changed. Instead of the neutrinos flowing out, they're slamming into the Yellowstone caldera. This isn't just an extraction anymore, it's an injection. The signal, which had been steady and coherent up until this point, suddenly morphed into a massive, high-energy pulse. The pulse lasted for exactly 0.8 seconds, but in that fraction of time, the energy density at the focal point, 3 kilometers beneath the Old Faithful geyser, spiked by a factor of 4,000. This was not an extraction, it was a deliberate injection of energy. The pulse wasn't just raw power, it was structured. The frequency wasn't random. It followed a perfect geometric sequence: prime numbers 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. These prime numbers are critical. Nature doesn't count in prime numbers. Pulsars don't do it. Black holes don't do it. Only intelligence does. This was an artificial signal injected directly into the magma chamber of a supervolcano, and when that pulse hit, something extraordinary occurred. The seismographs at the University of Utah flatlined for 0.4 seconds. A complete silence before the storm. Then the ground resonated, not shook, resonated like a bell being struck. For the next 9 seconds, the entire Yellowstone caldera vibrated at a pure tone of 14.2 Hz. This frequency is critical. It's an infrasound frequency that can travel through solid rock with almost zero loss. This is exactly what you need to conduct deep scanning of a planet's interior. It's like a planetary radar, sending a sonar pulse through the mantle straight down to the Earth's outer core, 2,900 kilometers below us. The echo we received, the reflection of that pulse, was unlike anything we've seen before. Something inside the Earth absorbed part of the signal. Geologists have always assumed that the Earth's core is a uniform ball of iron and nickel, but the reflection data from SAN Atlas shows otherwise. We've detected a massive, dense anomaly just above the core mantle boundary beneath the Pacific Ocean. It's a structure 400 kilometers wide that absorbed the signal completely. We call these ultra-low velocity zones, ULVZs, and we've known they exist for a while. But until now, we believed they were just blobs of molten rock. SAN Atlas's scan, however, suggests this anomaly has structure, it has geometry. And what's more chilling is that SAN Atlas was actively looking for it. The injection into Yellowstone wasn't just a random event, it was a tool. It turned our supervolcano into a planetary radar dish, scanning the deep interior of our own planet. But why? Why would SAN Atlas care so much about what's buried deep beneath the Earth? At 12 UTC, exactly on the hour, the injection stopped. The pressure in the magma chamber stabilized instantly. The ground stopped moving, but the data stream from SAN Atlas didn't stop. It didn't go away. Instead, we're detecting a faint, continuous transmission, not to us, not to NASA, but to something deep inside the Earth. If this is true, then SAN Atlas isn't just visiting, it's communicating with something that has been here for a very long time. The final piece of evidence, the one that the USGS hasn't released to the public yet, came through just an hour ago. The composition of the gases venting from the fumaroles at Yellowstone has changed. Spectroscopy has shown trace amounts of xenon, 129, an isotope produced only by supernova explosions and nuclear fission. The levels are currently 400 times higher than normal background radiation. This suggests that whatever SAN Atlas did to the magma chamber, it triggered a reaction. A low-level, controlled nuclear reaction deep underground. We are no longer just observing a geological event. What we're witnessing is an active physics experiment being conducted on our planet by an interstellar intelligence, and the experiment is not over yet. So, let's establish what we know with absolute certainty. At 8:14 UTC, Yellowstone experienced a 14% pressure drop that defies geological understanding. At 11:45 UTC, a stream of high-energy neutrinos reversed direction and slammed into the caldera. The seismic echo revealed a massive anomaly deep within the Earth's mantle that absorbed the signal. And we now know that xenon, 129, is venting from the fumaroles at 400 times the normal rate. These aren't theories. These are documented observations from NASA, the USGS, and the European Space Agency. But one question remains unanswered, one that the scientific community has been carefully avoiding. What did SAN Atlas wake up? The anomaly deep in the mantle, the so-called blob that geologists have been studying for decades. Blobs don't absorb prime number sequences, blobs don't return coherent echoes, and blobs certainly don't contain the specific isotopes SAN Atlas was looking for. If the injection into Yellowstone was a ping, then the silence that followed was the answer. And the implications of this are terrifying. If this was a geological scan, then SAN Atlas is mapping our resources. It's identifying the most volatile, energy-dense locations on the planet, our supervolcanoes, and testing their stability. If the goal is extraction, then today was just a calibration test, a small tap to check the plumbing before the main event. But if the goal is communication, then we have a much bigger problem. It implies that SAN Atlas isn't alone. It suggests that something deep inside the Earth was waiting for that signal. And the clock is running. As you watch this, the pressure sensors at Yellowstone are starting to rise again, not slowly, as they have for thousands of years, but rapidly. The ground deformation near the Norris Geyser Basin has accelerated by 8 centimeters in the last hour alone. The connection between SAN Atlas and this deep anomaly is still active. The data stream is flowing, and the energy required to maintain that link has to be coming from somewhere. Every seismograph on the planet is watching Yellowstone right now. Every radio telescope is pointed at San Atlas. In the next 12 hours, the alignment between Earth and the object will become perfect, the signal strength will peak, and whatever the purpose of this connection is, whether it's to drain the volcano, trigger it, or communicate through it, we are about to find out.